Imagine being abandoned with nothing but 2 hungry children and shattered dreams, until a man from your past sees you on the street, and everything changes. This is the story of Nia, a broken mother rediscovering her strength, and Adrian, the quiet classmate who becomes her unexpected savior. From pain to peace, betrayal to redemption, this is not just a love story, it's a second chance at life. Subscribe now and watch Shadows of the Past. You don't want to miss this. Title: Shadows of the Past. Hello family, enjoy this relaxing moment with AfriTales 38. Remember to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comment section, and generously hit the like button because it means a lot to us. Please relax and enjoy as we dive in the story. The Woman Under the Tree. The early morning buzz of Ekota Junction roared like an angry beast. Honking danfos fought for space. Okadas zipped through impossibly narrow gaps. On the sidewalks, hawkers screamed prices while tired workers trudged forward. But inside a sleek black SUV with tinted windows and leather seats, the chaos was just a distant hum. Adrian scrolled through his phone, half listening to the radio as his driver maneuvered around potholes. His schedule for the day was full: back-to-back meetings, a lunch with an investor, and a board presentation, but something tugged at his chest. A strange unease. Careful, he murmured as the SUV dipped into a hole and bounced slightly. The driver nodded and slowed. Adrian looked out the window, eyes scanning the crowd absently. But then he froze. Just by a crooked lamp post, beneath a small withered tree, sat a woman. She clutched 2 boys close, twins, maybe 4 years old. Her clothes were stained and threadbare, her hair wired and uncombed. The children's faces were dull with hunger, one wiping his nose with the back of his hand, the other staring into the distance. Adrian's heart stopped. That face, it couldn't be. He leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. No. It wasn't possible. But it was. Nia, he whispered to himself. He sat upright. Pull over, he commanded. The driver glanced at him but obeyed without question. Adrian stepped out, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. As he approached, the noise around him dulled, replaced by a high-pitched ring of disbelief. The woman looked up slowly. Her eyes, once bright, now hollow, met his. She flinched. Adrian, she rasped. Her voice was thin, almost broken. Adrian's breath caught. Nia, what happened to you? She immediately looked down, pulling her children tighter. Go away, she whispered. Please. But he didn't move. Couldn't. The Nia he knew from university had been fierce, beautiful, untouchable. The girl he had admired from a distance, the girl who never knew he existed. He had seen her in lecture halls, always surrounded by laughter and confidence. She had once made fun of him when he nervously offered to help her with her final year project. It was just a joke to her, but to Adrian, it had buried years of silent affection. And now, that goddess sat on the roadside, dirt on her skin, fear in her voice, and 2 children clinging to her like lifelines. This isn't right, he said, lowering himself to eye level. You don't belong here, Nia. I said go, she snapped, though her voice trembled. One of the twins whimpered. His tiny hand held his stomach. Hunger. Adrian's voice softened. Let me help. Just tonight. Let them eat, Nia. She looked at her boys. Silent. Weak. Her hands shook. Okay, she whispered. That one word changed everything. He took her hand. She didn't resist. Back in the car, the children called against their mother. Adrian stole glances at Nia. She hadn't stopped shaking. And neither had he. He picked up his phone and made a call. Mabel, I'm bringing guests. Make something warm. Make it special. At his home, she hesitated before stepping out. The mansion stood tall and glowing. The boys clung to her, eyes wide. Inside, they stared in wonder. The marble floors, the glowing chandelier, the quiet, it all felt like a dream. The dining table overflowed with jollof rice, grilled chicken, plantain, and thick vegetable soup. The boys attacked their plates without hesitation. But Nia sat still, hands gripping the edge of her chair. "Eat," Adrian said gently. She took one spoonful and began to cry. Not loud. Just quiet tears sliding down her cheeks as she tasted food for the first time in what seemed like forever. She covered her mouth. Adrian didn't speak. He just poured her water and slid it toward her. That night, the boys were given a warm bath, clean pajamas, and a soft bed. Nia remained on the edge of the couch, staring at the walls like they would disappear. Adrian finally sat across from her. "Tell me everything." She hesitated. Then spoke. And what she said next would change everything Adrian thought he knew about love, betrayal, and redemption. The man who vanished. Nia sat stiffly on the edge of the couch, her hands clasped together tightly. The warmth of the room did little to melt the icy shame in her heart. Across from her, Adrian waited silently, his face calm, but his eyes burning with quiet fury. She let out a long breath. "I was 19 when I met Damien," she began, her voice low. "He was magnetic. He had a way of making you feel seen, even when the whole world ignored you. And I was young, foolish. Hungry for affection." Adrian leaned back slightly, his jaw tight. "He said everything I wanted to hear. Talked about building a life together, starting a family. He made me believe in a future that never existed. And when I told him I was pregnant, something changed." She looked away, as if trying to hold the memory at arm's length. "He said he was happy. But I saw the fear in his eyes." Then the distance began. First, he was busy. Then, he stopped picking calls. One day, he was just gone. No note. No goodbye. Nothing. Adrian's fist clenched on the armrest. "And your family? My father said I had disgraced him. He threw me out." My mother cried, but she was powerless. Her voice cracked. "I begged for work. Slept in uncompleted buildings. Some nights, we didn't eat. I did what I could, but it was never enough." A heavy silence followed. Adrian broke it. "Damien never came back. Never asked about the children." Nia shook her head. "He doesn't even know their names. He never saw them. Not once." Adrian's voice was low and controlled. "If I ever find him—" "Don't," she interrupted quickly, placing a hand on his arm. "It won't change anything." "But your boys—" "My boys only need peace now," she said, her voice firm. "And safety." Adrian nodded, breathing deeply. "Then they'll have it. I promise you that." Nia blinked rapidly. It was the first time in years someone had made a promise to her without expecting something in return. The next morning, Adrian took them shopping. A private boutique welcomed them like royalty. The twins ran wild with excitement, choosing shirts, little sneakers, and cartoon socks. Nia stood frozen in front of a mirror, holding a simple navy blue gown. "These are too expensive," she murmured. Adrian placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not stealing them. You're choosing what you deserve." Afterwards, they visited a hospital. The doctor's report was gentle, but clear. "The boys are underweight, but otherwise healthy. With proper nutrition, they'll bounce back." Nia cried in the hallway not because of bad news, but because of relief. Later that evening, back at the house, she asked him the question that had been burning in her heart. "Why are you doing this?" Adrian met her eyes. "Because I care. No one helps without wanting something in return," she said, her voice edged with suspicion. "What do you want from me?" He paused, then said softly, "Nothing but your healing. And maybe, a chance to walk beside you." She looked away, uncertain. "Don't trust me yet," he said calmly. "Just let the boys eat. Let them laugh. Let life feel safe again. We'll take the rest one day at a time." That night, the twins ran around the compound in fresh pajamas, laughter echoing under the stars. They clung to Adrian's legs, called him uncle, and asked him endless questions about his job, his books, and his big shiny car. Nia watched from the balcony, one hand on the railing, the other over her heart. For the first time in 4 years, her boys were laughing. Not pretending. Not distracting themselves. Laughing. It was in that moment she realized something terrifying. This peace, this joy, it scared her. Because she didn't know if it would last. Burdens and beginnings. The sunlight poured gently through the living room windows. Nia stood by the curtain, watching the twins chase each other across the polished tiles. Their laughter filled the space like music. It was strange how quickly children adapted, how they could go from hunger to happiness in mere days. But Nia couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong. The walls were too clean, the silence too loud. She felt like a stranger in a borrowed life. Adrian walked in with 2 mugs of tea. "You didn't sleep again," he said, offering her one. She took it with a weak smile. Old habits. They sat in silence, the kind that grows between 2 people who don't know what to say, but know everything needs to be said. "I want to offer you a job," Adrian said suddenly. Nia looked at him, startled. "A job? At my company?" "Nothing complicated. You learn as you go, customer service, managing files. You're smart. You just need a fresh start." Nia hesitated. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the cup. "What if I mess it up? I haven't worked in years. I don't even remember how to turn on a computer." Adrian smiled gently. "Then you learn. Everyone starts somewhere. I believe in you." She looked away. "What if people look down on me? Your employees, they'll know I was on the streets. They'll whisper. Then they'll answer to me," Adrian said firmly. "This is about you, Nia. Not them. You have to start believing that you deserve better." That Monday, Nia stepped into his company building, dressed in a modest but elegant blouse and skirt. The receptionist greeted her kindly, but Nia noticed the way others looked at her, curious, uncertain, guarded. Adrian introduced her to the staff. "This is Nia. She'll be working with us. Please give her the support she needs." Some nodded politely. Others exchanged glances. At her desk, Nia felt the weight of 100 silent eyes. Her fingers trembled as she typed. She mixed up instructions. Struggled with software. Forgot where files were saved. Every mistake felt like a step closer to failure. One afternoon, Adrian noticed her frustration and pulled a chair beside her. "You okay?" he asked. "I feel stupid," she whispered. "Like I'm drowning in front of an audience." Adrian leaned closer. "When I started this company, I had no idea what I was doing. I lost money. Got scammed. Almost gave up. You're not failing, Nia. You're starting." His words stayed with her. Each day, she asked more questions. Took notes. Practiced typing at night when the boys were asleep. Slowly, the fear loosened its grip. Then one day, a disgruntled customer stormed in, complaining about a delayed order. Nia stood, listened calmly, and resolved the issue with confidence. Adrian, watching from a distance, smiled. "You handled that well," he said afterward. For the first time, Nia replied with a proud grin, "I didn't feel like running away." At home, the twins Kian and Levi thrived. They no longer flinched in their sleep or asked where their next meal would come from. They raced around the garden. Played board games. Called Adrian Daddy when they thought no one was listening. One evening, as Nia tucked them into bed, Kian looked up and asked, "Are we staying here forever?" She paused, brushing his hair gently. "For as long as we are wanted here, baby." Levi, already half asleep, mumbled, "Uncle Adrian makes you smile now. You don't cry anymore." Nia's chest tightened. That night, she stepped onto the balcony, finding Adrian already there. "They're happy," she said, standing beside him. "They are," he agreed. "Because of you?" Adrian looked at her. "Because of us." The moment lingered. The air was thick with something unspoken. Just then, a knock came at the front door. One of the guards rushed upstairs moments later. "Sir, there's a man here. Says he's the father of Miss Nia's children." Nia froze. Adrian's expression darkened. "What?" "He says his name is Damien." Ghost at the door. The name hit Nia like a slap. Damien. Adrian stepped in front of her instinctively. "Tell him to wait," he said to the guard. "No," Nia whispered. "Let me face him." Downstairs, Damien stood in the foyer, dressed in designer clothes and dark sunglasses. He looked exactly like he had years ago, charming on the outside, rotten beneath the surface. "Nia," he said, removing his shades slowly. "You look different." She crossed her arms. "You have no right to be here." "I heard you're staying here now," he said casually, looking around. "With my children." Adrian stepped forward. "Your children?" Damien raised a brow. "And you are?" "The man who kept them alive while you disappeared," Adrian shot back. "Do you even know their names?" "I came to see them," Damien said, ignoring the question. "They are mine." Nia laughed bitterly. "Mine? You vanished. You didn't just abandon me, Damien. You abandoned your sons." "I made mistakes," he said, his voice rising slightly. "But that doesn't change the fact that they're my blood." "Blood?" Nia stepped closer, her voice cold. "Were you there when they cried through the night? When they starved for days? When I begged for scraps on the street just to keep them alive? Where was your blood then?" "I had problems, Nia. I wasn't ready. But I want to fix things now." Adrian shook his head. "You don't get to show up out of guilt and claim what you left behind." Damien's jaw clenched. "You're just some guy trying to play hero. Stay out of this." "I'm not playing anything," Adrian replied, his voice calm but firm. "This is my house. And those boys, you don't even know them. They don't know you." "I want to see them," Damien insisted. "No," Nia said sharply. "You're not taking their peace away. You may have given them your DNA, but that's all. You're a stranger." Damien looked between them, realization dawning on his face. "So this is what it's about. You too? That's cute. Playing house." Adrian didn't flinch. "You should leave." Damien's eyes darkened, but he said nothing more. After a moment, he turned and walked away. The door shut behind him like a verdict. Nia stood still, her hands trembling. "Are you okay?" Adrian asked, stepping closer. She nodded, but her voice cracked. "For the first time in years. I think I am." The next few days passed in quiet reflection. The boys were told nothing. Nia focused on work. She was now managing fires, speaking to clients, organizing meetings. Her confidence grew. One afternoon, Adrian called her into his office. She entered, unsure of what to expect. "I wanted to talk," he said, gesturing to a chair. "About?" He took a deep breath. "About us." Nia stiffened. "I've loved you for a long time, Nia. Even back when you didn't know I existed." Her heart pounded. "I don't want to be just the man who helped you when you were down. I want to be the man you choose when you're strong." She opened her mouth but no words came. "I don't need an answer today," he added gently. "I just needed you to know." That night, Nia lay awake, thinking about the past, and the possibility of a future. Could she trust again? Could she believe in love without expecting it to vanish? The next morning, she made a decision. She stepped out into the garden where Adrian was watering plants with the boys. "Adrian," she said, heart racing. "I see you now. Not just what you've done, but who you are. And I think I love you, too." He smiled, slow, warm, genuine. And then he did something unexpected. He got down on one knee and pulled out a simple, beautiful ring. "Nia, will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes. Yes, she whispered. Yes. Home again. The village road felt unfamiliar after so many years. The air was thick with distant drum beats and the scent of burning firewood. As Adrian's SUV rolled to a stop in front of the modest family house, Nia's heart pounded. Her fingers gripped her dress as the twins stood beside her in the back seat, unaware of what this visit meant. Adrian reached over and took her hand. You don't have to do this alone. Nia nodded slowly. I know. But I need to face them. The compound gate creaked open, revealing a middle-aged woman with a scarf tied loosely on her head, her mother. Nia stepped out. The moment their eyes met, the woman dropped the broom in her hand and rushed forward, tears spilling. My daughter. Nia, she sobbed, pulling her into a tight embrace. Nia clung to her, the years of pain and separation collapsing in that moment. Mama. From the doorway, an older man with a cane stepped out, her father. He looked smaller now, more fragile. Time had humbled him. He cleared his throat, voice trembling. Nia. I wronged you. My pride. I let it ruin everything. Can you ever forgive me? Tears filled her eyes. She stepped forward and hugged him. Yes, Papa. I forgive you. Adrian stepped forward, holding the twins' hands. Sir, he said respectfully. I love your daughter, and I want to marry her. I promise to take care of her and the boys. Her father nodded solemnly. Then you have my blessing, my son. That evening, the family gathered around an open fire, sharing old stories and laughter. The twins danced with their cousins, while Nia sat beside Adrian, watching her parents with new eyes. Peace was finally hers. The traditional wedding took place weeks later. Guests filled the compound dressed in colorful ankara and flowing agbadas. Women ululated, drums beat loud, and the air smelled of grilled meat and jollof rice. Nia wore a deep wine-colored airo and buba, with coral beads crowning her hair. As she walked toward Adrian, who stood proud in a matching outfit, the crowd erupted in cheers. You look beautiful, he whispered. And you look like the man I prayed for but never thought I'd find, she replied, smiling through her veil. The ceremony was filled with blessings, prayers, and the symbolic sharing of palm wine. Her father, now softened by time, placed her hands in Adrian's and said, Take care of my daughter, with all your heart. I already do, Adrian replied, voice steady. Life after the wedding was different, but in the best way. They returned to the city, not as a broken woman and her savior, but as a family. Nia, now the operations manager at Adrian's company, walked through the office with confidence. The same workers who once whispered behind her back now looked to her for guidance. The twins, Kian and Levi, were thriving. They excelled in school, made friends, and called Adrian Daddy without hesitation. Every night, he read them bedtime stories while Nia watched with quiet joy. One evening, as she tucked the boys in, Adrian stood at the doorway. When she walked to him, he pulled her close. Are you happy? He asked. Nia looked up at him, her heart full. More than I ever imagined possible. He kissed her forehead. Then that's all that matters. She smiled and leaned into him, realizing that life had given her a second chance, not just at survival, but at joy, love, and family. Because sometimes, the greatest miracles come not from avoiding pain, but from surviving it. Nia had once been abandoned in the shadows, but now, she walked boldly in the light. And she was never alone again. Thanks for watching and please don't forget to subscribe.